Michael James and SAFTA award winner Thobani Nzuza do join me now to talk a little bit more about this. Then Michael James on the line then from Durban, Thobani joining me in studio. It's a good morning to both of you. Michael, I hope you're well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing really well.
Fantastic
Happy to be
stuff. Thobani, you're right. Great, man. Yeah. A very interesting film, this one then. Is this different to stuff you've done before?
Very different from many of the stuff that I've done before, especially because of the style that was used or employed to tell this particular story. The use of horror painter style, which is like the use of pause and silences. I think Michael James did a phenomenal job with this one. It took me back to the days of practice when I was in university, Durban University of Technology, because we once thought that maybe those theories will never use them in the profession because the style that we use, especially here in South Africa, is quite different from this one. The slowness of the film itself, it drives different narratives of what we usually do in our daily basis of our storytelling here in South Africa, especially on television.
Michael, this must be something else then, because a lot of people just want things that are fast-paced. We live in a now generation. They want things to happen now. They want it to be enthralling. Action must be there somewhere. Even if it's drama, there must be a whole lot of stuff happening all at once. But silence can also be very loud.
Yeah. So, I mean, from my side, I can say that it's the idea of using silence, the idea of engaging with some sense of reality of what life is lived like on the margins of society. It was a way of kind of bringing the audience in and experimenting with their empathy. I think because it's really easy to make people feel sympathy. It's easy to make people, shed a tear and feel emotional. But to engage with empathy is something different. And I think the film experiments with that, hence the silence, hence the fact that sometimes things don't really even happen. Nothing happens in the scene. And it's really a way of challenging the audience to engage with the responsibility and the burden of empathy, of what it looks like to live in the world outside of the cinema.
Is that an underappreciated sort of form now in filmmaking as well, that we don't use it sufficiently, and because of how we're living our lives right now, we expect everything to just consistently happen, and yet exploring this side brings so much more bravado, more character even to your film.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think because it's an easy. I feel that it's an easy thing to do to take people, kind of on a like a superficial trip of characters and story. Just get them just deep enough so that they don't really get too uncomfortable. And I think, it's a risk as a filmmaker, and even with Thobani as an actor. We had to explore what it would look like to risk taking people deeper, and what that requires of myself as a director. The relationship with Thobani, we had to engage with that. And then obviously now seeing audiences sitting and watching it, there's a definite sense of discomfort and challenge given to them. So it's not I think it's something that's utilized, hopefully will be utilized more and more throughout African cinema. Yeah,
Thobani was saying that this might be a risk for you as well then, and I guess it's understanding the kind of work the world we live in, should I say, right now though. What is it that actually drew you to agreeing to be part of a project like this one? Especially just it being so different from perhaps the things that are out there right now.
I think it's a story itself, because I grew up in a township of Umlazi, so I've seen many of my friends and family relatives turning from being just normal people to eating drugs and going to live in the streets. So it's something that I relate to, something that makes sense to my world as an artist. And also the script itself, it was well written. I couldn't say no to it because I related to it in many ways. The biographies of the stories that we tell, of the characters that we are exploring or we are playing, they also play a very crucial role into me saying this is one that I want to be part of, and also to conceptualize what actually happens in the lives of those that lives in the street. Because we don't usually maybe understand them or maybe even care to know their stories. So it's part of our South African stories that needs to be told.
All right, so this premiered last week, if I'm not mistaken, last week Sunday, if I'm correct, right? So there'll be more viewings of this, and now, of course, having this acclaim then to as well compete for Best South African Feature. I mean, that's absolutely massive as well, right? Yeah. Is there an appreciation that is growing as well for films like this, do you think, in South Africa? Are our eyes being opened a little bit more? Are we becoming more educated, shall we say, in the world of film, do you think, Thobani?
I think we've had a run as South African storytellers in terms of that, because there are more films who also have been explored, like not only here in South Africa, but internationally as well, counting the likes of Itsotsi, the likes of what is this thing? By Jamil, it's from Yellow Bone.
Oh,
they also went to talk.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
please, Michael. Yeah, continue. Okay. So do you think Tsotsi was kind of the start of it? I mean, there's stuff that obviously happened before that, but do you think Tsotsi itself was the genesis of what sparked a bigger revolution of understanding our stories differently from just it being apartheid, but growing South African
it's invited international audiences, and also itself was not only just a film, but it was also adapted from a novel which was written by Athol Fugard.
Yeah.
So it invited international, and also it won an Oscar. So which was, I think, it was the first South African film to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
So I think we are following to those footsteps, and we are happy to be able to engage with internationals and also with people out of the country, because our stories are also important. We know we don't want to always watching these international films as if they're doing things that we can't. We can also do them as well.
Yeah.
So it's great that we have that opportunity to be on the same stages with them as them.
Michael, your inspiration for this story then? I mean, I don't know how, shall we say, how influenced by similar scenarios you had been prior to this, but to grab a hold of a story like this and to try and detail it and tell it might have been something you've had to also work hard on.
Yes, absolutely. So the origin of and the context was during the lockdown that happened during COVID. I was invited to film some of the kind of happenings around the unhoused community here in Durban. And essentially they were put into various kind of camps, was what they were called. And when I was in one of them, I was introduced to a group of men who, they introduced themselves to me as filmmakers. This was back in during lockdown still. And that began a kind of relationship where, I would go back and we started doing these script workshops, we started working. And throughout this whole process, I was thinking about there's something here. There's something here around the relationship that I have as a young white South African, as a young white filmmaker, in relation to a space that I'd never experienced personally, but that I wanted to be engaged in, that I was asking questions. What's the relationship with cinema and marginalized spaces? And so all of that kind of came to a head where it resulted in the script, which the first draft, I think I wrote in a few days. And then the trajectory of the journey of actually making the film was a whole nother process, an incredible process with amazing partners, producers, international and local, as well as, our local funders, the NFVF, KZN Film Commission. And it was that whole process, but the origin of it was very much rooted in questions that I was struggling with for a very long time of what is my role in this society, this very, very unequal society that we live in, of which poverty seems to be manufactured. Through history and through present context.
Yeah.
So the origin of it is through a question of a lot of questions, a lot of existential crisis, which then results in the film itself.
Any chances of seeing it on the small screen?
I think for sure, absolutely. Right now, we have a very exciting festival strategy.
Yeah.
So beyond the Durban Film Festival, we've got a few more screenings, one happening tonight, one happening in Joburg next weekend, one happening in Cape Town the following weekend. Yeah. And then from there, our international festival run is going to happen, and we're very excited for that. And then after that, for sure, we're going to have, we'll definitely, I'm sure, look at theatrical releases and obviously on the streaming platforms as well. So we definitely want South Africans to see the story. It's a South African story.
Thobani, to anybody who wants to go and see it or is thinking about it, what would you give them as a message about this film?
They must be ready for emotional roller coaster. They must be ready for great acting and also the DOP worked very great on this film, and it was something new. It felt fresh. It was heart-taking moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do something out of ordinary.
You, of course, said some great acting. You're in it, Thobani. So, of course, why wouldn't you? Thobani Nzuza, appreciate the time. Thank you so much. All the best with this project as well. Then really hope it kicks off and really can be seen by a whole lot more people as well. I actually look forward to seeing it as well. Bioscope, 2nd of August, then here in Johannesburg. That's happening around 12 noon. But there'll be 3 other screenings then of this as well. So very important.